You know what's terrifying? Right now, someone you know might be getting trapped in a cult, and they have no idea. They think they've found their soulmate. They think they've discovered their purpose. But what they've actually found is something far more sinister. This is the story of the twin flame cult, and I'm warning you right now, this gets dark. Hey everyone. Before we dive in, I need you to understand something. This isn't just another internet drama story. This isn't some wild documentary recap. This is real life, real people, real trauma. And if you stick around, you're going to learn warning signs that could literally save someone you love. So here's what we're doing today. We're exposing the twin flame universe cult from the inside out. I'm talking about the manipulation tactics they don't want you to know about, the psychological tricks that work on smart people, and the one red flag that appears in almost every cult but nobody recognizes until it's too late. Hit that like button if you're ready to go deep, and let's get into this. Section 1. What is twin flame universe? Okay, so first things first. What even is twin flame universe? On the surface, it looks innocent. It's an online spiritual community founded by Jeff and Shalia Divine. Yeah, those are their real names now. Well, actually no. They changed their names to sound more spiritual. Red flag number 1, but we'll get to that. They promise to help you find your twin flame. And if you're wondering what a twin flame is, it's supposedly your perfect spiritual match. Your other half. The one person in the universe who completes you. Sounds romantic, right? Here's where it gets weird. According to Jeff and Shalia, they're not just teachers. They're the ultimate twin flames. They claim they have a direct connection to God. They say they can guarantee you'll unite with your twin flame if you just follow their process. And oh boy, what a process it is. They charge thousands of dollars for classes. They sell coaching sessions. They have a whole system of courses and memberships. Some people have spent over $50,000 trying to find their twin flame. But here's the thing nobody tells you up front. Your twin flame isn't someone who also likes you back. It's whoever Jeff and Shalia say it is. Even if that person has blocked you. Even if they're married to someone else. Even if they've filed a restraining order against you. Yeah, it gets that bad. Section 2. How it starts, the love bombing phase. So how do people even get sucked into this? Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I would never fall for this. I'm too smart for cults. That's what everyone thinks, and that's exactly why it works. It starts so innocently. You're scrolling through social media. Maybe you just went through a breakup. Maybe you're feeling lonely. Maybe you're just curious about spiritual stuff. And then you see an ad or a post about twin flames. The content looks professional. There are testimonials from happy people. They're talking about unconditional love and spiritual awakening and finding your purpose. It sounds beautiful. It sounds hopeful. So you join a free webinar, or you buy their book for $20. No big deal, right? And at first, it feels amazing. The community is so welcoming. Everyone is so positive. They tell you that you're special. They tell you that you're chosen. They tell you that you're finally in a place where people understand you. This is called love bombing, and it's the first stage of cult recruitment. They make you feel seen and heard and valued in a way maybe you've never felt before. They create this intense emotional high. And your brain gets addicted to that feeling. It's literally releasing dopamine like crazy. You start attending more sessions. You join their Facebook groups. You make friends with other members. And slowly, very slowly, your whole social circle starts to shift. You're spending more time with twin flame people and less time with your old friends. And here's the really sneaky part. They tell you that anyone who questions this path doesn't understand. They say that negative people are just projecting their own wounds onto you. They convince you that doubt is just your ego trying to sabotage your spiritual growth. So when your family says, hey, this seems weird, you don't listen. You think they're the ones who don't get it. Section 3. The mind games begin. Now we're getting into the really disturbing stuff. Once you're hooked, the manipulation intensifies. Jeff and Shalia introduce this concept they call the mirror exercise. And on the surface, it sounds like normal self-help advice. The idea is that everything you see in other people is actually a reflection of yourself. So if your twin flame is ignoring you, it's because you're ignoring yourself. If they're mean to you, it's because you're being mean to yourself. Sounds kind of reasonable, right? Like, self-reflection is good, yeah. But here's how they twist it. Let's say your supposed twin flame has clearly told you they're not interested. They've blocked you on everything. Maybe they've even threatened legal action. A normal person would recognize this as rejection and move on. But in twin flame universe, that's not what's happening. Jeff and Shalia tell you that your twin flame is just scared. They're running from the connection, and it's your job to do inner work until they come back. So you do more mirror exercises, you take more classes, you pay for more coaching. And when nothing changes, they tell you that you're not doing enough work. You're not committed enough. You need to go deeper. See what's happening here? They've created a system where failure is impossible for them and guaranteed for you. If it works, they take credit. If it doesn't work, it's your fault. This is psychological manipulation at its finest. They're essentially making you gaslight yourself. And it gets worse. They tell people to ignore restraining orders. They encourage stalking behavior and call it pursuing your union. They tell people that no means yes in the spiritual realm. They tell people that their twin flame's consent doesn't matter because on a soul level, they want this. Let me be crystal clear. This is dangerous. This is abuse. This is not okay. Section 4, the money trap. Let's talk about money for a second, because that's what this is really about. Jeff and Shalia have built an empire. We're talking millions of dollars. And they've designed their system to extract as much money as possible from vulnerable people. It starts small. Maybe you buy a book or take a cheap intro class, but then they tell you that you need the advanced teachings. You need personal coaching. You need to join their inner circle. The prices keep climbing. Hundreds becomes thousands. Thousands becomes tens of thousands. And here's the brilliant evil part. They've convinced you that spending money on this is an investment in your eternal happiness. They tell you that the universe will reward you for your commitment. They say that doubting the cost is just your ego blocking your abundance. They've literally programmed people to override their own financial common sense. I've read stories of people who maxed out credit cards, who took out loans, who drained their retirement accounts, all to pay for courses and coaching that never delivered what was promised. And when you run out of money, they tell you to manifest more. They tell you that you're blocking your own abundance with limiting beliefs. They make your poverty your fault. One woman reported spending over $70,000 over several years. Another couple sold their house. People have gone bankrupt. But Jeff and Shalia, they're living in luxury, designer clothes, expensive cars, multiple properties, all funded by people desperately searching for love. Section 5, the identity erasure. Now we're getting into something that I think is the most disturbing part of this whole thing. And it's something that happens in a lot of cults, but takes a specific form in twin flame universe. They start erasing your identity. First, they tell you that your thoughts aren't your own. Any doubt you have is just ego. Any criticism you think is just wounds. Your own mind becomes the enemy. Then they start controlling bigger things. There are documented cases where Jeff and Shalia told people to change careers, to move to different cities, to cut off family members, all in service of the union. But the most shocking thing, they tell some people that they're transgender. Yes, you heard that right. If you're a woman pursuing a man who isn't interested, they might tell you that you're actually a man, that you need to transition to male to balance the energy in your twin flame connection, and vice versa. Now listen, I want to be super clear here. I fully support transgender people. Gender identity is real and valid, but what's happening in twin flame universe is not genuine gender identity exploration. It's manipulation. These leaders, who have no psychological training, are telling people to make permanent medical decisions based on cult doctrine. They're convincing people that their gender identity is somehow tied to whether someone else will love them. Several people have spoken out about being pressured to transition, about being told that their twin flame would only accept them if they changed genders, about going through hormone therapy and surgeries because Jeff and Shalia said it was necessary. This is medical abuse. This is playing with people's fundamental sense of self, and it's incredibly dangerous. The Netflix documentary, Escaping Twin Flames, covers this in detail, and the stories are heartbreaking. People who were confused, who were vulnerable, who trusted these leaders and ended up making life-altering decisions they later regretted. Section 6. The Isolation Technique. Every cult has to isolate its members, because if you're still connected to the outside world, eventually someone's going to talk sense into you. Twin Flame Universe does this in really subtle ways. First, they create an us versus them mentality. They tell you that people outside the community are sleeping or in 3D consciousness. You're special because you're awakened. You understand things they don't. This makes you feel superior, which feels good. But it also makes you less likely to listen to outside perspectives. Then they keep you busy. There are constant classes, daily exercises, Facebook groups that demand participation. You're supposed to be working on your union every single day. You don't have time for old friends or hobbies. They also create a language that only insiders understand. They have specific terms and phrases that don't make sense to outsiders. This makes it harder to explain what you're doing to people outside the group. It creates another barrier. And if you do try to leave, the community turns on you instantly. Former members have reported being harassed, being told they're evil, being told they've abandoned their twin flame and condemned themselves to eternal separation. The same people who love-bombed you at the beginning now attack you viciously. This creates intense fear around leaving. Even if you're miserable, even if you know something's wrong, the thought of losing your entire social circle is terrifying. One former member described it like being in prison. Not a physical prison, but a mental and emotional one, where the bars are made of fear and shame and invested belief. Section 7. The Real VICTMS. I want to take a moment to talk about the people on the other end of this. The unwitting, twin flames who never signed up for any of this. Imagine this. You went on a few dates with someone. It didn't work out. You politely said you weren't interested and moved on with your life. Normal stuff, right? But then that person joins Twin Flame Universe, and suddenly they're convinced that you're their destiny. They start showing up places. They send hundreds of messages. They create fake accounts to get around your blocks. They involve your family and friends. You tell them to stop. You make it clear you're not interested. You might even get a restraining order. But they don't stop, because Jeff and Shalia told them that your rejection is just a test, that you're scared of the connection, that if they persist and do enough inner work, you'll eventually come around. This is stalking, full stop. And there are dozens of documented cases of this happening. People whose lives have been turned upside down by someone else's cult delusion. One man had a woman he barely knew move to his city, learn his schedule, and show up everywhere he went. For years. Another woman had a former date spread rumors about their spiritual connection to mutual friends, making her social life a nightmare. These victims are stuck in a horrible position. The legal system doesn't always take spiritual stalking seriously, and the stalkers genuinely believe they're doing something loving and right. It's traumatic for everyone involved, except, of course, for Jeff and Shalia, who profit from all of it. Section 8. Why smart people fall for this. Here's something important to understand. The people who join cults aren't stupid. They're not weak-minded. They're not gullible idiots. Cult recruitment works on psychological principles that affect everyone. Smart people, successful people, educated people. In fact, sometimes smart people are more vulnerable because they think they're too smart to be fooled, so they let their guard down. So what makes someone vulnerable to this specific cult? Usually it's a combination of factors. Maybe you're going through a hard time, a breakup, a loss, a major life transition. Your normal support systems aren't working like they used to. You're searching for meaning. You're searching for hope. You're searching for love. And Twin Flame Universe promises all of that. They promise certainty in an uncertain world. They promise love is guaranteed if you just follow the steps. They promise that your pain has a purpose and an end date. That's incredibly appealing when you're struggling. They also target people who are already interested in spirituality. If you believe in soulmates or destiny or cosmic connections, you're more likely to find their message resonating. And once you're in, the sunk cost fallacy takes over. You've spent so much time and money and emotional energy. You've distanced yourself from people who questioned it. Admitting it was all a lie feels impossible. So you double down. You invest more. You believe harder. It's not stupidity. It's human psychology, and it could happen to anyone under the right circumstances. Section 9. The warning signs. All right, this is the part where we talk about how to spot this kind of manipulation. Because the patterns in Twin Flame Universe show up in a lot of places. Cult-like groups, toxic relationships, MLM schemes, abusive workplaces. If you can learn to recognize these signs, you can protect yourself and the people you care about. Warning sign number 1. Love bombing followed by isolation. If someone or some group makes you feel amazing at first, but then slowly cuts you off from outside perspectives, that's a red flag. Warning sign number 2. Special knowledge or enlightenment that only insiders have. If they claim to have secret information or special access to truth that outsiders can't understand, be suspicious. Warning sign number 3. Financial exploitation. Any group that constantly pushes you to spend more money, especially money you don't have, is exploiting you. Legitimate teachers don't push people into debt. Warning sign number 4. Questioning is forbidden or punished. Healthy communities encourage critical thinking. Cults punish doubt. Warning sign number 5. The leader is beyond criticism. If the leader is always right and followers are always wrong when things go bad, you're in dangerous territory. Warning sign number 6. Your identity is being reshaped. If the group is telling you who you are, what you should want, or how you should think, they're trying to control you. Warning sign number 7. Ends justify means. If they're telling you that bad behavior is okay because it serves a higher purpose, run. Warning sign number 8. Outside relationships are discouraged. If they create an us versus them mentality where outside friends and family are seen as threats, that's classic cult behavior. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let anyone convince you that your instincts are just ego or fear or wounds. Section 10. How to help someone who's in IT. So, what do you do if someone you love is involved in something like this? First, understand that you can't force someone to leave. Pushing too hard usually backfires and drives them deeper in. The cult has already primed them to expect resistance from loved ones. Instead, maintain the relationship. Keep the door open. Let them know you care about them even if you disagree with their choices. This is their lifeline. When they're ready to leave, they need to know they can come back to you. Ask questions instead of making statements. Instead of saying, "This is a cult," ask, "How do you feel about the money you're spending?" Or, "What happens if this doesn't work?" Questions plant seeds of doubt without triggering defensive reactions. Share information gently. You might send an article or documentary about cults in general, not specifically about Twin Flame Universe. Let them draw their own connections. Don't attack the leader. This will only make them defend the leader more strongly. Instead, focus on how they feel. Are they happy? Are they stressed? Are they financially struggling? Be patient. Leaving a cult is a process. It might take months or years. There might be false starts where they leave and then go back. Don't give up on them. And if they do leave, support them without judgment. Cult survivors often feel tremendous shame and embarrassment. They need love and understanding, not "I told you so." Consider connecting them with cult recovery resources. There are therapists who specialize in this. There are support groups. There are organizations that help people rebuild their lives. The most important thing is that they know someone cares, because isolation is what keeps people trapped. Section 11, the legal situation. You might be wondering, how is this legal? How are Jeff and Shalia not in jail? Unfortunately, the law moves slowly with cults. Religious freedom protections make it hard to prosecute spiritual groups. As long as they're not directly inciting violence, they can get away with a lot. However, things are starting to change. The Netflix documentary brought mainstream attention to Twin Flame Universe. Former members are speaking out. Legal experts are looking into fraud charges. There have been lawsuits. Some former members are pursuing legal action for the money they spent under false pretenses. Others are exploring emotional distress claims. The stalking cases are particularly interesting from a legal standpoint. In some jurisdictions, the stalking victims have successfully gotten restraining orders. A few have pressed charges. But here's the problem. Jeff and Shalia are clever. They don't directly tell people to stalk. They just create a belief system that inevitably leads to stalking behavior. That's harder to prosecute. They also operate largely online, which creates jurisdictional issues. Members are spread across multiple countries. Where do you even file charges? And like many cult leaders, they've insulated themselves with layers of protection. They have LLCs. They have terms of service that people agree to. They have disclaimers everywhere. But public awareness is powerful. The more people know about Twin Flame Universe, the harder it is for them to recruit new members. The more former members speak out, the more evidence builds. Things are slowly moving in the right direction. But the legal system isn't designed to handle psychological manipulation efficiently. Section 12, the bigger picture. Here's what really bothers me about this whole thing. Twin Flame Universe isn't unique. It's just one example of a much bigger problem. We're living in an age of loneliness. Social media connects us superficially while leaving us feeling more isolated than ever. Traditional community structures have broken down. People are desperate for belonging and meaning. And into that desperation, predators step in. There are wellness cults. There are fitness cults. There are cryptocurrency cults. There are political cults. There are self-help gurus who use the same manipulation tactics. They all promise the same things: certainty, belonging, purpose, transformation. And they all exploit the same vulnerabilities. The internet makes it easier than ever for these groups to find victims. They can target ads to lonely people. They can create sophisticated online communities. They can reach across the world. Twin Flame Universe has thousands of members across dozens of countries. That wouldn't have been possible 30 years ago. We need to talk about this more. We need to educate people about manipulation tactics. We need to create genuine communities so people aren't so vulnerable to fake ones. We need to address the loneliness epidemic, the meaning crisis, the economic pressures that make people desperate. Because as long as people are hurting and searching, predators will find them. Section 13, recovery is possible. But here's the hopeful part. People do get out, people do recover, and they go on to live full, healthy lives. I've read dozens of stories from former Twin Flame Universe members, and while the journey is hard, they all say the same thing. Leaving was the best decision they ever made. They talk about the fog lifting, about realizing how much energy they were spending on something that was making them miserable, about reconnecting with family and friends, about finding real love and real purpose. Recovery takes time. You have to unlearn the programming. You have to forgive yourself for being deceived. You have to rebuild trust in your own judgment. Many former members work with therapists who specialize in cult recovery. They join support groups with other survivors. They educate themselves about manipulation tactics so they can spot them in the future. Some become advocates. They share their stories publicly to warn others. They help current members escape. They work to hold the leaders accountable. Their courage is incredible, because speaking out means admitting you were fooled. It means facing public scrutiny. It means reliving trauma. But they do it anyway, because they know their stories might save someone else. If you're watching this and you're in twin flame universe or something similar, please know that leaving is possible. You're not stupid. You're not broken. You're not doomed. You were manipulated by professionals. That's not your fault. And there are people ready to help you when you're ready to leave. No judgment, just support. Conclusion. So let's bring this all together. Twin Flame Universe is a dangerous cult that exploits people's desire for love. They use sophisticated psychological manipulation to extract money and control lives. They encourage stalking behavior. They interfere with medical decisions. They destroy families. Jeff and Shalia have built an empire on the broken hearts of vulnerable people. But the more we talk about this, the less power they have. Awareness is protection. If you learned something from this video, please share it. You never know who needs to see it. That like button, hit it. That subscribe button, smash it. Because we need to keep having these conversations.